The co-founder of the Intel Corporation and pioneer of semiconductor industry as well has died. Years before starting Intel, Gordon Moore made his famous observation known as Moore's Law.
The 1965 prediction explained how fast engineers would double the capacity and complexity of computer chips every year. That theory would become a tech industry standard for progress and innovation. Over the years, Moore's Law has been applied to hard drives, computer monitors, and other electronic devices. Moore died Friday at his home in Hawaii. He was 94 years old.
So for joining us more on Moore's impact on the semiconductor industry, tech industry, Silicon Valley, we're joined live by San Jose State University professor and technology expert Ahmed Banafa. Professor, thank you for joining us. If you do a little research about Gordon Moore, you find out that he really left a lasting legacy that affected pretty much everyone on the planet when it comes to technology.
Absolutely. I mean, whether you are an entrepreneur, you're a student, you are a tech company, you're in Silicon Valley or anywhere, as long as you are using anything that's related to semiconductor, you're actually applying his law. And my first encounter with his law was when I was a student. I'm an electrical engineering major, whether it's undergraduate and graduate, and the first thing we talk about in semiconductor is his law.
Well, I read that he's a pretty modest guy. He's calling it a lucky guess that this law was not even something. He said it got a little bit more publicity than it deserved, but I feel like at this point we can say it was well deserved.
It is, I mean, if you follow his, history, if you follow his speeches and the meetings he have done, I haven't met him personally, but I know people who met him, and he will be standing at the side of the room just waiting for somebody to talk to him. He will hand his a business card to you and answer your emails if you email him. So he's a very humble guy. I don't think that he understands the magnitude of what kind of change he introduced to this part of Northern California. Silicon Valley is the material used in transistor, and he's the one who have this law that talk about transistor, and it's still valid.
Yeah, it's incredible to think that he was such an innovator, and he really laid the groundwork for what would become this explosive world that we know of now in terms of driving technology, in terms of essentially having computers that we're walking around with using every day, in terms of smartphones. And I bet some of the ideas that he was bringing up early on probably sounded like science fiction to a lot of people.
It was, and when he talked in 1965 about every 2 years we're going to double the number of transistors and the cost will go down, by half. This is valid until today. I'll give you an example. The latest generation of Intel CPU has close to 6 billion transistors. And when you see this number, huge number, you can have it in that small chip, you understand that we are talking about a futuristic, technology. He was talking about it, but it was clear to him. He's actually a pioneer. He was a pioneer. He saw the vision, and he was just telling people how is this going to end or how is this going to continue.
Well, and growing up, I feel like Dan and I were probably both in that era where you were starting to have computer classes at school, and we've watched everything evolve in real time. When you talk about the future here, like, you still see this continuing, this law to continue to innovate and create new things for us technology-wise?
Well, it's been tested so many times. It's been tested with so many new products, and it's still valid. And when you look at it and you look at what we have now, just look at the size of the devices. Look at how many transistors we can compact inside them, which translated to how powerful is those devices. And you're going to understand that Gordon Moore was right. That's what I tell my students. I told them, don't look at the history. Look at what actually behind that one, which is the vision that he was thinking about it close to 60 years ago.
You mentioned his modesty. What sort of thoughts do you think some of the major tech leaders of today have in terms of the impact of Moore and what he's done throughout his life?
If you want to talk about Gordon Moore, you will immediately think about people like Steve Jobs, because Steve Jobs was the driving force, and he was the visionary for the smart phones, and that industry is exploded because of him. The same thing happened when it comes to Gordon Moore, but he was so humble about it. He helps Intel at multiple levels. we're not talking about a tech guy. We're talking about somebody who is a business person. He was an entrepreneur, and he ran Intel as a CEO for many years. And you can think about the year when he was at the top of Intel and how this company is really grow up and expanded in all directions. And I look at him that way. I look at him as somebody that the history book will talk about him for years.
All right, technology expert and San Jose State University professor Ahmed Banafa, thank you so much for your insight tonight.
Thank you.